Can you hear me?
There, got it.
Hey, we got you. So, hello Martin, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Where in the world are you? You're in Cranleigh, I guess.
Cranleigh, yeah. So right down on the sort of Surrey, West Sussex border.
Yeah.
Lovely village. Claims to be the largest village in England, but I think there's quite a few that make the same claim.
Has anyone ever done the count? That's the thing. So thank you for taking the time to speak today. We know each other through the local networks, through Cranleigh Chambers, very active in the business community. And I've listened many times to your great podcast on financial matters. So I know you through Informed Choice, as many people will do, financial planners. You're a chartered financial planner yourself, and also through your media company, Bamford Media. Informed Choice, based in Cranleigh.
Yeah. So based in Cranleigh. My parents' business originally, so set up in 1994, 25 years old, and we've now got an office in Petersfield as well. So our second office over the border in Hampshire.
Okay. And your clients are individuals and businesses, am I right?
Mostly individuals. We have a few business clients, but yeah, mostly private individuals.
Yeah. And I mean, essentially, you're sort of very active in social media. Informed Choice Radio is where you started, is that right?
Yeah, more or less so. And I think I was always a fairly early adopter of social media and technology and things. And I mean, Bamford Media really came out of the fact that lots of other businesses looked at what we did at Informed Choice with the podcast and the blogs and the videos and said, can you do that for us? So we had to create a separate entity to deliver those services to other businesses that wanted the same sort of podcasting and content marketing related stuff we were doing.
And I get a sense that whatever you do, whether it's Informed Choice as a chartered financial planner or through Bamford Media, for you, it's all about innovative ideas.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I like sort of testing new technology, testing new toys. It's all about the toys, really. As long as I've got gear like this, the headphones and things, and I'm quite happy. Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to speak to you today is that you're very active in the community and about supporting the community. And through this current situation with the whole coronavirus, you've recently launched Cranleigh Radio as well, is that right?
Yeah, Cranleigh Community Radio. So I mean, when all this kicked off, I was sort of looking for a role, really, sort of how I could help and support the local community. And there's lots of fantastic initiatives taking place out there, community helplines and street champions, all these wonderful things. Sure. And really, I thought, well, how can I use my experience with podcasting to give people who are feeling a bit isolated and a bit lonely that lifeline, so keeping them connected to their community. Because one of the wonderful things about living in a place like Cranleigh is just the conversations you have when you're walking down the street and all those sort of familiar voices, familiar faces, and that's missing right now. We can't go out there and have our conversations. So Cranleigh Community Radio is just a weekly audio podcast. It's me plus each week a number of different local voices just chatting about stuff, and I think it brings that sort of comfort and reassurance to people who might be trapped in their homes at the moment.
Yeah. So, we're all in sort of our own version of self-isolation. What does lockdown look like for you? Are you used to working from home? Is this a bit different for you?
This is a little bit different. I've got two offices which are both about a mile away in the village itself, and I work primarily from one of those. Recently, actually, only a few months ago, I expanded my lease on the office, so took on more floor space as we grew a little bit. So I'm feeling a little bit gutted that I'm now not able to get into that office and use all the sort of the fast computers and the fast internet. So have a separate space. But no, I mean, it really means for me staying at home. I've created an office space in the corner of our bedroom, bought a desk home, bought some computers and stuff home, and sharing bandwidth with the children when they're not streaming Netflix and watching YouTube and things.
Yes, I think we're all struggling with that. In terms of the current situation, how are you and your businesses responding? What are the challenges for you and how are you finding it generally?
On a personal level first, I've been very up and down about the whole thing, sort of not knowing how to comprehend what's going on. It's the uncertainty for me that's the real killer. It's the sort of not knowing how long this might last for and how bad it might get before it gets better, and also what the aftermath looks like. From a business perspective, I've got two businesses that are in very different places. So Informed Choice is a very established business, 25 years old, team of 15, 16 people. And the biggest challenge for Informed Choice has been transitioning from working in two offices to working remotely for everyone. Which hasn't been too bad. We had lots of cloud-based systems. People have been able to sort of share files across the different sites already. So we were fairly well set up for that. business financial wise, that business not a problem because we had healthy cash reserves. Our income is mostly recurring, and that hasn't changed throughout this. So we're very happy. Bamford Media is a much newer business, only 2 years old. Had recently gone through a bit of an aggressive expansion phase, so I'd invested some money in it, hired more members of staff, grown the office, etc. And then coronavirus came along at quite a bad time. So we've sadly lost a couple of clients there. One was a retailer that saw their income go to zero overnight. Another, a consultant for the NHS, training consultant, who saw his income go to zero overnight. So rightly so, they've put our services on hold. And then I've got members of staff who now have newfound childcare responsibilities. So those combination of factors meant that it was right for us to furlough 3 members of staff initially, just for a month until we see a bit clearer what's going to happen. But we'll get through it. I think shocks like this always come along. Not this particular one, but we have recessions on a fairly regular basis. And you just have to be resilient and push through to the other side. We know we'll come out stronger once this is all over. But don't know when that might be.
Conversations and decisions being made all over the place from what we can see. How are you managing to keep in touch? I mean, I imagine, especially when you've had to make a decision to furlough staff, and keeping morale and motivation up is important. But how do you manage to keep in touch with people, with friends and family?
I think the funny thing is I'm probably speaking to friends and family and colleagues more now than I was. So we're using technology like this. I mean, Zoom has been absolutely fantastic. We've got various WhatsApp groups set up for business and personal stuff, and just trying to keep spirits fairly high, sharing jokes and memes the whole time and just staying in touch with each other, really. So we've still got that structure. The business always had a weekly Tuesday morning meeting, and that just transitioned to a weekly Tuesday morning Zoom call. So and we do things like have different themes. So it might be sunglasses or hats or something, and so keep lifting the spirits, really.
I was going to ask you about socialising, but you mix the both together, do you?
Yeah, there's no difference in my world. It's the same. You've got to have fun. If you don't have fun doing what you're doing at work, then what's the point, really?
Absolutely. Yeah. What response have you had to Cranleigh Community Radio? I mean, because that's obviously a way of keeping in touch with people as well. So, have you had much feedback yet?
Yeah, we've had 2 episodes go out so far. So our second episode went out on Friday, and it's been lovely. We've had a few hundred downloads for each one, just nice comments on Facebook, and people missing that sort of familiarity of the voices they're hearing. And it's just even people who are now sitting in their home office working alone miss that connection and miss that sort of interaction with people in the local community. So
where can people find Cranleigh Community Radio if they want to find it and have a listen along?
So it's on the website destinationcranleigh.net/radio. Alternatively, if you just search for Cranleigh Community Radio in your favourite podcast player or your smart speaker, it will play through that. So anywhere you want to find it.
Good to know. So these are difficult times for many people, and I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of people feeling that they want to help others. Some of us are feeling a bit sort of like we want to reach out and help, but we just don't know how to do. I think it's fantastic what you've done with community radio. If there is anyone out there thinking, how can I help? Maybe a business like yours, or maybe do something like community radios. Any sort of tips you can give them, or what would you say to those people?
That's a really good question. I think the first thing to say is just get involved. I think we're in such an extraordinary period of time right now that a lot of the old ways of doing things, the old rules have almost gone out the window. So don't wait for permission for anyone to do stuff. If you want to set up a community radio show or a street champion scheme or anything like that, just get out and do it. You don't need anyone's permission to start something. I think what's really important through right now is supporting local independent businesses. And what really frustrated me last time I went into a village to get food was the huge queues outside all the big supermarkets, the big chain supermarkets, and then nobody at all in the butchers, the fishmongers, the bakers, the independent shops, and they're fully stocked with food. They're ready to serve you. It's probably a much safer shopping environment than queuing up to go into M&S and Sainsbury's.
Have you seen that change over the weeks at all?
I haven't been out since then, so I've done very well. We're now using local businesses to do food delivery to the house. So we've managed to identify 3 or 4 different businesses who have pivoted to doing home delivery. For example, this morning, a company that delivers snacks to all the pubs pubs dropped off a huge box of snacks for us because they're now doing door-to-door delivery to houses.
Yeah.
So my kids are over the moon because they've got their kind of singles and stuff now, and they're very happy. So we've changed our habits, and I think for me this whole thing was a little bit of a wake-up call that I was a 3 times a day to Marks and Spencer's guy before this, which is awful, but I've definitely now started.
That's how many people were living, I think. That's we had got used to in
convenience. It was convenience, and it was living a busy life. But I've got these fantastic local independent retailers right on my doorstep, and we're so lucky to have them. They won't be around unless we don't, unless we support them through this. And I suspect we're going to see, sadly, huge business failures as a result of this crisis. And I don't want to sort of wake up and leave the house after this and see all of our local independents gone from the high street, because they'll never come back, sadly.
No. But I think it's absolutely key what you said about it's so positive to see the businesses that are pivoting and taking innovation and delivering services and their products in different ways. I think I find that really positive throughout all of this. And I'm doing exactly the same as you, using my small independent retailers to get all my groceries from, and the service you get from them is personal, and it's just fantastic. So I completely agree with you. How about your business? Is there anything that people can do in terms of supporting your business or your colleagues or any of the other business community around you?
I think from my business's perspective, for the next month or so, the name of the game is really just maintaining our profile. So we're going to be putting out lots of content, lots of stuff on social media. We're not trying to actively engage with new clients during this time because, firstly, I don't think it's right to sort of chase business when everyone's going through this very struggling period. Yeah. But secondly, from a capacity point of view, we want to make sure we're putting everything into our existing clients and giving them as much support as possible, particularly when we have fewer members of staff to look after them. I think from our local business community, and I can sort of put my Cranleigh Chamber of Commerce hat on as vice president there, the key thing is just making sure you stay in touch with these businesses, even the ones that have closed. Go onto social media, drop them a message. How you doing? Are you okay? Is there anything you need? Because it's a horrible time for these businesses. In some cases, were built up over generations and have had to close their doors. So I'm thinking about the pubs in particular. And some of them have pivoted. Some of them are offering takeaway services and home delivery, but many have just closed their doors. And it's going to feel very lonely for a lot of these business owners who just don't know what the future looks like right now. So stay in touch with them, I think, is the main message.
With Cranleigh Chambers, the community of businesses throughout there, how is the feeling? Have you got a sense of what business is doing, and is there a positive feeling out there at all? Is there any sort of good news out there, or is it really just let's wait and see at the moment?
A huge amount of uncertainty at the moment. And the conversations I was having with our local business owners before the lockdown started was really very bleak and quite upsetting in some cases. I know there is a package of government support out there which some businesses qualify, some don't, sadly. It depends on your circumstances. It's very hit or miss, but I think it's worth pointing out that the high street in particular was in a lot of trouble before this started. They were seeing increased competition from online, people shopping habits changing, high rates, parking costs, etc. So it wasn't a happy, profitable place beforehand. And this, for a lot of retailers, sadly, will be the final nail in the coffin. But I think all independent businesses have to recognise that change like this comes along at fairly regular intervals, and you've got to look for the opportunities in it where you can. So businesses that can pivot, businesses who can think, what does the next 10 or 20 years look like as a result of this? If anything, one of the benefits from this coronavirus crisis, I guess, is the thinking space it creates for us. If you're not absorbed in that day-to-day of running your business and keeping afloat, then you can step back and you can undergo training and development and look for the new skills you need in this new economy. So,
I think that's it, isn't it? There's going to be an army of individuals out there who will be now looking to build upon the skills they've got, learn new skills, learn from each other, and look at new ways of, whether you're an employee or a business owner, you're just looking at how you can now, we're all changing our habits from whether it's how we shop and sort of communicate to how we work from home. So I think it's really important that us as individuals look for the opportunities as well and don't just rely on the businesses around us.
No, absolutely. And we've got to remember these are, skilled, experienced entrepreneurial people behind these businesses. So whilst in some cases the business will fail, that's no reflection on the individuals. It's sometimes just a circumstance they find themselves in, but they will come back stronger. They'll come back with new businesses, they'll come back with new ideas, and there are wonderful opportunities out there as well as all the awful stuff that's happening.
Yeah. on a more lighter note, so we're all learning to work from home. You know, it's a different world for many of us. How are you finding working from home? Do you have working from home style? Have you got any tips or advice you can give to people on what it's like to sort of work in this new world?
I think my working from home style is probably no different to my office style, in the sense that I'm a scruffy person at the best of times. So I'm probably one of the only bearded.
Is that a new haircut that I can see?
It is. That was my quarantine haircut. So I got the buzz cut out and sorted that out a few weeks ago. But yeah, no, I think that the main thing is to create space that's dedicated space for working from home if you can. I predicted the lockdown was going to come in, so on that weekend I went to the office and dragged a desk and a proper comfy chair back, and a big monitor and that sort of thing. So give yourself the tools you need to work well. Don't try and sort of perch a laptop on your lap and sit on the sofa all day, because it's going to get uncomfortable quickly.
Yeah. And you're pretty used to sort of, you do a lot of podcasting, a lot of social media. I'm assuming a lot of video calls as well. Have you got advice for people for sort of talking on video and getting used to it? Because it's quite alien for a lot of people.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, video is something that I've been doing for a number of years. I still find it mildly uncomfortable, so even with lots of practice, but practice makes perfect. The more of it you can do, the easier it gets. And I've done over probably 1,000 podcast episodes now, and conversations, probably hundreds of videos, and it does get easier. Don't worry about making mistakes. Don't worry about being word perfect, because as soon as you start thinking about the precise words you've written down, you'll mess up, and you'll stop and pause. Just keep going. Once you press that record button, just keep talking, and you can always cut stuff out in the edit afterwards if you have to.
The thing I tell people as well is expect interruptions. Expect a child perhaps to come running in, or a dog to leap up at you. These things just happen.
They do. Mine are pretty well trained, actually. I always give them a heads up just before I start the call. I don't want my wife sort of walking in and out of the shower or anything. Or, unfortunate things that could happen like that. But
I've seen a few of those flying around, those videos. Not your wife,
No, she's not been caught in any yet. But no, I think as long as you just recognise that this isn't an office environment, and interruptions like that will happen. You might get a child or a dog or something pop up on the call. Just shake it off. Don't sort of get upset by it.
Absolutely. If you were to sort of think about any of the good news stories that we've seen, we've seen the army of heroes of NHS workers that we've got, and that we're all thankful to them. Is there anybody that you would like to thank, or any sort of words of kindness, or anything you'd like to share with people?
I mean, there's so much of it, and I think I was always told, when we see sort of awful acts of terrorism and things, always look for the heroes, always look for the rescuers, because there's always people out there that put others first and don't sort of worry about their own safety. So, and I know too many to name, but people in this community who are picking up shopping and medicine for 5 or 6 households now, and exposing themselves to the virus to go out and keep others safe, which is just wonderful. People who are just volunteering their own time to man helplines and coordinate the effort. Going out on it's a Thursday evening at 8 o'clock, and just hearing that round of applause around the neighbourhood, just it's stirring. It's absolutely incredible. And even silly things like watching the Queen's speech on TV, and just feeling very sort of proud that we are who we are, and we are a nation of givers and doers. And
I think feeling part of something, isn't it, that we are in this together, and we will feel part of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm with the kids this morning, sort of painting a rainbow to go in the window and things. And it's just, it's an awful situation, but there are so many nice things we can take out of it that don't detract from the awfulness, but at the same time give us cause for hope. Yeah,
and it's a really fine line. I was talking to somebody earlier between sort of the seriousness of it, but also looking for the positives in this as well. It's a very tricky line to go on. So, how do you sort of relax, and what are your home comforts amongst all this? Because we can't escape our 4 walls. So what are your comforts? What will you be doing sort of at the end of the day?
So I've been watching a lot of movies, a lot more than usual. Watched 3 movies over the weekend, which I wouldn't normally do. I had to be very careful because I'm working in our bedroom, so I've got our bed right across the room from me, and that sort of temptation to sort of pop in for a nap every afternoon is quite hard to overcome. But I think it's looking for the simple things that sort of keep you happy. So watching movies, I read a lot of books, listen to podcasts occasionally. We do go out for a walk with the dogs once a day, and my wife and I tend to sort of do that as 2 separate walks, not because we don't want to spend time with each other, but it means the dogs get more of a walk and we get a bit of time outside the house on our own to relax and sort of keep our sanity, which is the important thing. But
Yeah.
I appreciate as well, a lot of people are not in that fortunate position of having a garden, having a big enough house to sort of escape from family members and have their own space. So we are very lucky, and we're very lucky being here in Cranleigh, where we can go for a walk and not see another soul for an hour, right from our doorstep, which is wonderful. But I think you just got to look for the simple things. And if this goes on for much longer, I might learn to knit or something to keep myself busy.
I look forward to that. Maybe a nice hat in your next video call or something.
We'll give it a go. Yeah.
Thank you ever so much, Martin. If anybody wants to get in contact with you at all, maybe to listen to the radio or to hear about either Bamford Media or Informed Choice, how can they get in touch with you?
So you can find me on social media. I'm at Martin Bamford on most platforms, and the website is bamfordmedia.co.uk.
Fantastic. Thank you ever so much.
Thanks, Rebecca.